Following Roger Goodell saying that he and the NFL support peaceful social protests by its players, President Trump was critical of allowing kneeling during the anthem, tweeting that he would not be watching the NFL this season if that was the case. So, Shannon, how do you believe the owners will react to this?
Well, I think the thing is that because now everybody knows that what Colin Kaepernick took a knee for, Skip, it was not about in protest of the flag, the military or the vets. It was about to bring attention to the unarmed killing of unarmed black men and women in America, to bring attention to the social and economic injustices that we see in America. That's what it's about. The one thing, Skip, whether you like President Trump or not, the thing that you can say about all great leaders is that they can convince people that what they're saying is right and get people to follow them. Even the greatest generals, 5-star, they've only been, if I'm mistaken, there's only been 5 of those, and those that happened during wartime, from MacArthur to Eisenhower to Omar Bradley, Henry Arnold, to Jim Jones. Because Jim Jones convinced 1,000 people, Skip, that he was the Messiah, and to follow him to Guyana and drink poison. That's what good leaders can do. President Trump convinced. Now, they were along for the ride anyway, Skip. They were just hoping we need somebody even more powerful than us because we don't want to touch this. We don't want to talk about this, Skip. So if we can get someone, and what did he start? Oh, they're kneeling in protest. Oh, they're doing this and that. But Skip, it was never about that. And I wrote something, and I got this, Skip. Everybody loves Dr. King, but this is what he said, Skip. He said, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. Skip, when this was hard, when this was difficult, 2017, 18, 19, where were the owners?
Yep.
Nowhere to be heard. Now it's convenient. I expect them to do nothing else than go along with what the public sentiment is. They're going to turn a blind eye. They're going to turn a deaf ear to President Trump. But by the same token, they will pump millions into his re-election bid. We know Jerry Jones did, Daniel Snyder, Woody Johnson. Skip, even Shad Khan last week, Skip, he said, although I'm not from this country, I don't know what it's like, but I understand what it's like to beat racism. As he pumps millions into his inauguration, as he gives millions more for re-election. Skip, I'm not saying the people that support Donald Trump are racist. But what I am saying is that racism is not a deal breaker for them. Although that is something crucial, $600 million in my bank account means more to me than that. That's what they've said. That's it in a nutshell. So I do believe, Skip, that the owners, that's why you heard none of them speak. They're the one with ticky-tack statements. Because what's going to happen, Skip, is that what can I do? What is the least amount that I can do to get the most bang for my words? Oh, it's sad, and our players are absolutely right. We stand behind our players. Hey, President Trump, here's another $2 million for your re-election. President Trump, here's another $3 million for your re-election. That's what that is, Skip. The player, and now, so it doesn't matter what they say, because what they've seen is, Skip, and for me, if they had a history, and since Shannon, you gave Drew Brees had a history of being great for the black community. That's why people got so upset when he said what he said.
Got it.
Ain't nobody upset at these owners. Because that's what they expect. They think one way, economics. What does this do for me? Them killing black people, that don't affect my bank account. But putting him in office and then having him do tax cut that where I'm at, that saves me hundreds of millions of dollars, that's what does this for me. So Skip, this is what I expect. I expect eventually, if we were to have football and these owners are going to have to talk. Reporters are going to ask them, and they're going to say, we commend our players, we support our players, and we want what's best for our players as long as it's peaceful protest. Every time I hear that, Skip, it just burns me. As long as they peacefully protest. Skip, what the hell were they doing? They've always been peaceful. So it's going to be, Skip, it's going to be, oh, yeah, the players are unbelievable. We have a great community. That's what we love about our players. Not only are they great athletes, but they're great community men. They do right by their community. All the while seething, all the while hating that the players are kneeling. Because now they can't make it about the flag anymore, Skip. They can't make it about the anthem. They can't make it about the military. That's what they done. They shaped it because the narrative, Skip, I don't want to talk about that. If I talk about that, Skip, they was like, okay, then what are you going to do about it? But if I keep the attention on the flag and the vets and the military, now I don't even have to talk about that. Well, I can't even see. I can't even hear what you're talking about because you're doing that. So, no, I expect them to go along with the public because the public says it's okay, they'll side with the public. But when it was difficult, when it was controversial, when they really could have had some teeth, when they really could have made a stand, Skip, they said nothing, they did nothing, and it cost the man his career because he took that stance.
Yep. Agreed. So, Shannon Sharp, allow me first to comment on Greg Popovich. As you know, I'm a longtime Spurs fan.
Yep.
And now, Greg Popovich, after many times taking shots at President Trump, Greg Popovich has now condemned Roger Goodell and NFL owners for caving in to President Trump back in 2017. It is difficult for me, even as a Spurs fan, to completely buy into anything Greg Popovich says publicly because, to me, he bullies and shames the media even worse than President Trump does on a nightly, daily basis. He does. He uses the media platforms when it benefits him and the message he wants to get out. But then if reporters dare to question him after games, he all but spits on them. And you've seen him in action. So I lose respect for him in that regard. And I will also remind everybody, he did pledge allegiance to Tim Duncan 10 years ago and said again and again and again, when Tim walks out that door into the sunset, I'll be walking with him. Tim retired in 2016. Even before 2017, he retired. And guess who's still coaching the Spurs? And guess who benefits from blasting President Trump? A man who's preaching to a choir in the locker room that includes, what is the NBA now, 75, 80%
easy
African-American, somewhere in there. So obviously his constituency wants to hear this, and prospective free agents want to hear, oh, Pop's got our back on this. So again, I'm not saying he doesn't believe in what he's saying, but it does benefit his livelihood greatly because these are the black stars who make him a genius.
But here's the thing, the difference is with Pop is that Pop started this crusade in 2017 when it was very unpopular.
He did. No, I give you that.
He went out there, he and Steve Kerr, Skip,
they did.
Were white coaches in professional sports that went out before anybody else thought it was in vogue. Now, we know the black coaches, how they felt, but these two guys went out there and took major criticism.
Got it. So, yes, in 2017, I would say a majority of NFL owners were scared of Donald Trump, our new president of the United States, because he is the most powerful man in the world. Robert Kraft has said many times publicly he has been a best friend of Donald Trump for many years, going way back. Jerry Jones is at least a friend of Donald Trump's. And I believe that as a group, they were scared to death that this new president might just go ballistic and attempt to take away their antitrust exemption. I don't want to get too detailed and complicated here, but that's what allows these owners to make millions and millions and ultimately billions of dollars is their antitrust exemption. And there would be a threat that the new guy is just crazy enough, just powerful enough that he'd say, I'm going to flex my new muscles here and just, I'll take that away from you guys. So it's always about the bottom line in any sport. But all of a sudden, I think the tide has changed. I think we're seeing a new day and a new way. And as I told you from the start, when I started watching the protests, the eyes, ears, and minds of the white community, much of the white community, are now open. They are protesting alongside what they view as their black brothers and sisters. These are mostly the younger white people, but they're out there in droves. And it has made these protests seem even more awesome because of the sheer numbers out there, and they're still out there. So this could be, as I keep saying, the greatest time in the history of race relations in this country if the moment gets seized. Again, am I a little frightened about what else is going on? I just detailed all that in the previous conversation that we just had. But right now, it feels like the tide has turned. We've hit a tipping and a turning point in which every CEO in America, seeing their bottom line, we're going to issue statements about Black Lives Do Matter. Okay, well, you don't think that the NFL owners are saying, uh-oh, wow, this is great. Because now maybe President Trump's on the wrong side of this issue for the first time, right? Maybe we could be on the right side, which might have played a little part in the fact that once the players put out that video on a Thursday, it wasn't 24 hours until Roger Goodell, and I don't think he would have had time to call every NFL owner, maybe a couple, but it almost felt like he went rogue and made his own video from his basement and said, you know what? They were right in 2017 and we were wrong. And he basically just repeated everything the players said verbatim. Like, yes, that's correct, that's correct, that's correct.
Yeah, the NFL was built on the backs of black players.
Okay. It was.
Yes.
Okay. So now we've seen such a shift, such a potential watershed moment that predictably right after or soon after Roger Goodell's message, President Trump doubled down. You could have predicted it. And he basically said, if you kneel, I'm not watching. Well, how many people will that appeal to now? Those are the people he's trying to reappeal to, the people who elected him. Is there, and again, I'm out of my league here. I've told you all the time, I'm not that political, so I don't follow it the way you do. Is it possible